We think of the McCarthy era in American politics as one of oppression, paranoia, and unfounded witch hunts that ruined lives and destroyed careers. Fear of secret communists lurking around every corner drove normal people to do insane things and turned friends and colleagues into enemies overnight. We're right to look back on that time with shame and judgment. But have we really learned anything from the lessons of the past? Or are we doomed to play out the same mistakes over and over again? In the era of vaccine mandates and government control over media, it's not so clear.
The question is, have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
I'm framing my answer in the only way in which any American citizen can frame his answer to a question which invades his, absolutely invades
Then
his
you
right.
denied, you refuse to answer that question, is that correct?
I have told you that I will
All right.
offer my beliefs, my affiliations, and
Excuse me.
everything else.
In 1947, the House Un-American Activities Committee began hauling actors, movie producers, and screenwriters before the House of Representatives to defend themselves against accusations of communist ties. Some, understandably worried about the threat to free speech and free expression these hearings implied, refused to comply. While the US Constitution gives citizens the right not to incriminate themselves, in this case, silence was interpreted as guilt. Those refusing to name names were charged with contempt of Congress and saddled with fines or even jail time. It was trial by accusation and guilt by association, a fundamentally un-American approach to justice, and an irony which the House Un-American Activities Committee failed to appreciate. As U.S. Attorney General J. McGrath said at the time, in periods of emergency, it is natural that some of the rights and privileges of peacetime must be temporarily abridged or restricted in the interest of national survival. The actions of Congress were bad enough, but what followed was worse. Alarmed by pressure being placed on industry, the heads of all major motion picture studios quickly organized an emergency meeting at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, where they issued what became known as the Waldorf Declaration.
We will forthwith discharge or suspend without compensation those in our employ, and we will not re-employ any of the 10 until such time as he is acquitted or has purged himself of contempt and declares under oath that he is not a communist.
Among those singled out as dangerously anti-American were film legends Orson Welles and Charlie Chaplin, folk singer Pete Seeger, novelist Dashiell Hammett, and conductor Leonard Bernstein. Welles fled the country to avoid persecution, while Seeger was sentenced to 10 years in prison, although that sentence would later be overturned. Some actors attempted to protest the blacklist. Led by Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, the First Amendment Committee was formed to preserve the freedom of speech in Hollywood, and was joined by many major stars including Bette Davis, Judy Garland, Katharine Hepburn, Lucille Ball, Frank Sinatra, Gene Kelly, and Groucho Marx. The committee flew to Washington to protest, but their efforts were mostly ignored, their combined star power ineffective against the combined might of the US government and the Hollywood studios. Infighting and paranoia tore the group apart when it turned out that one of the members actually had been a member of the Communist Party. Feeling that he had been duped, Bogart distanced himself from the committee, and decades' best defense of artistic freedom evaporated almost immediately. There are many lessons we can take away from the Hollywood Blacklist, but one of the most important is the way in which government can use fear and intimidation to get private industry to do its dirty work for it. No one forced the Hollywood studios to wage war against their own actors. No one had to. It was an act of self-preservation in response to harassment by Congress. We're seeing the same thing today as social media companies ban users and take down content that violates the narrative being pushed by the White House.
But these requests were coming from basically every agency in the government. We've seen them from the HHS, from the Treasury, from the DOD, even from the CIA, and they will send basically long lists of accounts in Excel spreadsheet files and ask for action on those accounts, and in many cases, Twitter is complying.
These policies are not mandates, but who needs a mandate when a forceful suggestion from the FBI will do just as well? And just like in the 1940s, actors are bearing a heavy cost for daring to go against the grain. While the government stopped short of a national vaccine mandate in response to COVID-19 pandemic, the movie and theater industries voluntarily adopted their own set of rules at the time when their very existence was threatened by lockdowns and social distancing policies. And woe to any actor who doesn't comply. Broadway stars Clifton Duncan and Laura Osnes lost jobs and potentially whole careers over their refusal to take the COVID-19 vaccine. while the long-running soap opera General Hospital fired 2 of its actors for the same reason. Famously, Gina Carano was fired from the popular series The Mandalorian for her social media posts, including one mocking the use of face masks during the pandemic. A number of more high-profile stars have spoken out against the mandates, including Evangeline Lilly, Rob Schneider, and Ice Cube, who lost a $9 million movie contract over his position. But just as in the 1940s, their voices are falling on deaf ears. According to Duncan, there are many more like him, but without the courage or financial security to go public with their views.
Any artist, any actor, any performer who doesn't toe the quote-unquote progressive line knows that if they say anything, if they say, I don't know, I'm not really sure about the whole climate crisis thing, or I'm not, or they push back against, feminist dogma, if they talk about, or trans dogma now, queer theory, all this other stuff, they know that they'll jeopardize their careers. They know that they might even destroy their careers. I mean, there's a whole cadre of conservative actors whose name I can't even mention because it's like a fight club, right? You can't talk about it because they know that they damage their prospects for employment.
In a hyper-competitive industry where relationships and reputations are everything, it's career suicide to push back against the establishment. Just like in the McCarthy era, an actor who wants to stay employed knows the safest thing to do is keep his mouth shut. This is the chilling effect on free speech that makes us afraid to even communicate with each other, where free thinkers speak only in hushed whispers to trusted allies, terrified they might be overheard having the wrong opinion. The possibility of being ratted out to authorities by a friend or coworker undermines our trust in one another and has us always looking over our shoulders. It's a particular tragedy in an industry that is supposed to produce creative and original works of art, which simply cannot exist without freedom of expression. True freedom of speech is not just a line from the Constitution. If it is to mean anything, it has to be a cultural value as well, something we all protect and defend. We can't expect to survive, let alone thrive as a civilization, as long as we're imposing a single, uniform viewpoint on our artists. Creativity cannot flourish under an atmosphere of fear and repression. So while we teach our children that McCarthyism was wrong, let's not forget to apply those lessons to our own times and avoid the new Hollywood Blacklist.